This is my life. This is my passion. This is Ike's Outdoors.
Hey, now we're going to talk about the Blacktail 154. This is the rangefinder holster that I talked about earlier this year. I got the rangefinder holster here and I used it quite a bit, especially I strap it to my pack on the outside when I got to hunting and I could just slip it in and out. Or when I was stalking, I'd put it on my pack out in the front, or if I didn't have my pack with me, I could drop it down and put it right on my belt. Really like this. Never had any trouble with the rangefinder wanting to slip out of there or anything like that. So this one worked out fantastic. Now, the other one that I tested that they sent me was the little holder for your air bottle, or your, what do you call it, your powder bottle you test your air current with, and had a little bit of issue with it. I actually ended up losing my bottle of powder, whatever the heck you call those things. It's slipping my mind right now. But I ended up losing my bottle the first time I used it. So that one, I don't even know where it is now. It's at my shop somewhere in the pile of discarded products, because it just absolutely did not work. Just lost the bottle the first time it went out. So I didn't really like it too well. Next thing we're going to talk about is the X-Blind, which obviously I'm not going to put up here. The X-Blind, I had a little bit of trouble with the X-Blind this year. Every time we got a high wind, every time we got a good wind, I would go to it to hunt it and it would be knocked down. And I'd have to put it back up again. And it finally got knocked down and got into some briars and got tore all heck. And I had 2 of those actually. And my brother ended up, he was using one in Oklahoma, and he was having the same problems that I was. It was blowing down every time that he went to it. The thing was on the ground, and so he ended up taking PVC and building a frame for it, and built a internal frame for it, and it works fantastic with that internal frame. But just on its own, me and him both experienced the exact same problems of it wanting to blow down, and every time we'd go back to hunt it, it would be on the ground. Now the X-Stand Sit and Climb, I actually used it. That's my tree stand of choice. Used it all year long and had one problem with it, and it was a pin. The pins on that thing are held on by an E-clip. They slide up and down with the spring, and I've got an E-clip that holds them, keeps them go back up, keeps them from falling out. And I actually had one slip out on me. The E-clip wasn't put on properly, and it fell out, and I didn't know it. And I climbed a tree with it, and when I got up to the top, I was setting my top, and I was leaning to one side, and I just, right combination of movement, right combination of weight distribution or something, and I ended up falling off of the left-hand side of the tree stand because that pin caved out, and my cable actually came out, and the left side of my tree stand dropped, and I was leaning on it, and it ended up bucking me over the side, which I had a safety harness on. So no big deal as far as that goes. You know, I was able to get back up in the tree stand and everything like that and wasn't hurt. But I immediately called X-Stand and told them what happened. And what happened was, and it's one of the issues that you run into with being a product tester and being in doing reviews like this, is a lot of times companies are in a hurry to get me stuff out before it actually goes to a production model. And what happened was I got a prototype model, and there was only 2 of them with those E-clips in there, and I got one of the 2 that they first made with those E-clips. And Tony over there saw that this could be an issue after he built the prototypes and actually did away with the E-clips and put a washer on there with points inside of it, so when it slips over into the groove, it cannot come out. And so I talked to him. He wanted to know what was wrong, you know, if I was okay, what he could do to make it right, and, you know, really was apologetic. And like I said, it was just one of the 2 tree stands that had the E-clip on it, and all the ones production now have the washer on them. And he was nice enough, he sent me all new washers for it, and a new pin and everything like that, and was really great to deal with. Customer service was awesome, and luckily I wasn't hurt. So but I did run into that issue with it, and I wanted to pass that along because I know some of you guys seen that on Facebook when I posted I'd failed. And so it was an issue with it being a prototype, not really an issue with the tree stand, and Tony made it right. Any one that you go out and buy is actually going to have the washers on it. It's not going to have the E-clips on it. So Tony really stood behind that and did a fantastic job as far as taking care of me on that one. And was really concerned, wanted to find out the problem, the root of me falling, you know. So really good, really happy with the customer service on that overall. Another thing I'll talk about while we're talking about me falling was I used the Hunter Safety System this year, and I will have to say Hunter Safety System's customer service was above and beyond. I've never reviewed a Hunter Safety System safety harness. I don't know why. I've owned one for a couple years. I just never have reviewed it. It seems like everybody's out there's got a review on it, and they've got a lot of sponsorships that they're doing for, you know, hunting celebrities and stuff like that. So it just seems like something I've never really needed to discuss with you guys. Sorry, I'm enjoying a little Christmas holiday drink there. Their customer service, I called them, and my actual reason for calling them was just to tell them, hey, I fell. Your product did fantastic. Thank you for saving me from a 20-foot fall. And when I called, I actually got a receptionist, told her what was going on, and she forwarded me right over to the owner of the company. And I cannot remember his name now to save my life, but I've got it somewhere. I've got it in my phone somewhere. Listened to my story, talked about what had happened, and was really good to talk to. Wanted to know, you know, if I was all right, if everything was okay, and was really good to talk to, really good to deal with. And then he offered to give me a new one. Not just give me a new one, but he offered to give me 50% off of a new one. A new Hunter Safety System of my choice. You know, I was blown away with not only the concern that they showed for me, and the concern that they showed that they wanted their product to work, but also with, and I don't have his name in here. I swore I had it in here. But they, well, I'll find his name because I know I've got it somewhere, and we'll put it right here after when we're in the editing process. And what I was just blown away with Hunter Safety Systems, customer service, their concern over how their product performed and everything like that. So absolutely would not hesitate to buy another Hunter Safety System again, even if it was at full price. And the fact that they extended a 50% off a new one to me was just, you know, phenomenal to me. So the next thing we'll talk about is the bow case that I got this year. We reviewed from 30-06 Outdoors. Used that quite a bit. Took it to and from a lot of 3D shoots, and took it to and from a lot of hunts, and no complaints with that at all. Performed great. Never had any issues with that. The Glow Peep is another next product. I don't think I've got it on either one of these bows. It's on my Martin. Yeah, it's on my Martin in the bow cabinet, and probably on that CPXL. Worked real well. Had no complaints about the Glow Peep at all. Charged properly. Does a fantastic job. Gives you a good illuminated peep to look through, and really worked out really good in low light situations. The next thing is the Revelation. This is from Real Avid, and this is the knife that we reviewed that has the light on it. So used this quite a bit this year. Cleaned a couple deer with this, and the only thing, I cleaned 2 deer with it, and it was kind of dull after 2 deer, so you can't really complain about that. But sharpened up easily afterwards. I never did get in a situation to use the light actually gutting. It's funny, all the deer I killed this year were in the morning, so it's really weird. The one time I wanted to test this out, and I never killed a deer at night, so I never got to use the light as far as gutting purposes. But the knife performed really good as far as just knife functionality of it. Performed really good. Like I said, I gutted and cleaned 2 deer with it, field dressed 2 deer, and skinned 2 deer with it, and finally had to resharpen it. So it worked out really well overall. G5 quiver that we reviewed earlier this year, it's on my High Country right over here. Worked out really good. I did notice one issue with it that I did notice was it got kind of loose after a lot of on and offs, and you can see here that I can rotate it around, you know. So I was kind of disappointed in that. It did get loose on me after quite a few on and offs. But, you know, I usually go to my tree stand, pop this thing off anyway, but if you're the kind of guy who shoots with it on all the time, you know, don't expect it to stay tight all the time if you're going to take it on and off quite a bit, because it definitely did get loose. Another product that we reviewed was the Mustang Release from 30-06, and it's somewhere in this bag, and I don't know where it is. I used it for a backup release this year, and I actually used it quite a bit just for shooting purposes when I didn't have my other release. I actually lost it for quite a while, and I was using the Mustang, and when I found my other release, I still continued to use the Mustang for a while after that, and really liked it. Like I said, I put it in my bag for my backup release in case that I lost my release again or left it at home or something like that. So really liked the Mustang Release, and that was again from 30-06 Outdoors. Very good, cheap, beginner level release that held up to all the abuse and all the use that I gave the thing. So as much shooting as I do, if it'll hold up to me, it'll hold up to just about anybody. And the next thing we're going to talk about is not really a product, it's a service, and that was from Hanover Hydrographics, and I don't actually have the bow anymore. It's another one of them stupid things. I should have never let it go. But we'll put some pictures up here of it. Hanover did a Struther, Valor for me. Strother, whatever the heck their name is. But did a Valor. He did a custom dip job on a Valor for me. And it was a moonshine dip, and it had an orange base to it. And I chose the base, the color of the base. And then we decked it out with Bojack's products. And man, that bow was sharp. The finish on it was outstanding. And man, it looked good, shot good. Just stupidly, I never should have gotten rid of it. It's one of those things. Every year, you'll notice I build a project bow. And I try to find a bow that's 2 or 3 years old, and I'll dip it and Frankenbow it, put some different limbs on it, different cams on it, something like that, you know. It's kind of like you guys that build old cars or do something like that. I don't build it to keep it, I build it because I like the building process of it. So that's what I did with the Valor. You know, I bought that Valor cheap and sent it to Hanover and got it re-dipped and got all the Bojack stuff on there and new strings and got that thing tuned and was shooting lights out, and then I sold it. So that's the way it goes sometimes, you know. But Hanover did an outstanding job on it, just an absolutely flawless finish, and it held up really well to the shooting that I did. Like I said, I never took it hunting, but I ended up selling it on Archery Talk. And if you're the guy who bought the bow and you're watching this video, I'd like to know how well it held up. But because the 5-6 months that I had it, the finish was still flawless when I sold it, even where I put my accessories. So yeah, Hanover Hydrographics does an outstanding job, and he's the only guy that I'll trust to dip my bows. When I do my project bow in 2013, he'll be the one that'll do the dipping on it, I guarantee it. Next thing we'll talk about is a product that I use hunting quite a bit this year. All my arrows this year that I used hunting were blood veins. You can see I've got a blood vein right here. Actually, on that high country, I've got some just regular blazers, but everything else had these blood veins on it. And this one actually has been through a deer. If I showed it to you real close, you could see there's some. This is the one I gut shot a doe with, so there's some fecal matter on there. But I did end up finding that doe. You can watch the video on that. But the blood veins, I shot quite a few deer this year and never had trouble at all with the blood veins. The only blood vein that I did end up having to replace was one that I shot, and as I was shooting a group, I ended up shooting a hole through it. But the rest of them, like I said, this one was a complete pass-through on deer, and a couple of those other ones, a couple of the ones I've got in my cabinet here were complete pass-throughs on deer as well, and no problems with them at all. I mean, this thing, other than being a little dirty and smelling a little funky, looks like it's brand new. Just no complaints on the blood veins at all. Just completely floored with how well these things have worked, and definitely be my vein of choice from now on, because these things absolutely tough as nails, and just, man, for your money's worth, about 20 bucks for 6 of them, and I guarantee you these arrows, if I didn't have blood veins on there, I would have been refletching about halfway through the season. With these, it was literally just take them to a garden hose and wash the blood and gunk off of them and throw them back in a quiver. So blood veins is one of the best products that I've tested for 2012, and just I think is going to absolutely continue to stay on all of my arrows. The next thing and the last thing we're going to talk about here is the ladder stand Second Man, which is another product that's big, and I don't have it in here with me, but we tested it out on a tree stand. We just took it out and hung a tree stand in an easy spot to film. And thing worked fantastic. Just worked great for me as an individual. Putting up a ladder stand worked great. And because of that, I actually, a couple weeks after I bought it, I went to an auction and they had 2 or 3 ladder stands still in the box. And I ended up picking up 2 of them really cheap that I would have never even looked twice at before the ladder stand Second Man, because ladder stands were so hard for me to put up by myself and so dangerous for me to put up by myself because I don't have a hunting partner up here in Missouri with me. So I ended up buying those 2 and putting them up with my ladder stand Second Man, and man, it was nice being able to hunt out of a ladder stand this year. And ended up buying another one, ended up putting 3 ladder stands up, and that ladder stand Second Man was absolutely fantastic. Just made it made it really easy to put up those ladder stands, and made it quick and made it safe. And that's the biggest thing to me, is it made it safe, where it actually before it was pretty dangerous for me. Another way I used it, which I didn't show, if you watch the video with me quartering a deer, my how-to quarter a deer video, I've actually got that deer hung with the ladder stand Second Man. I've got it on the base of the tree. I took it up, threw it over the limb, and hooked it into the deer, and just cranked that thing up over the top of that tree. And the manufacturer, 30-06, does not recommend that you guys do that. But I was able to find actually quite a few more uses for that thing than just putting up tree stands with it. So ladder stand Second Man is definitely one that's worth the money. So I appreciate you guys watching these videos. We got a lot coming up for 2013 as well. A lot of bow reviews, a lot of how-to videos to do. Bow fishing videos. We're going to be really busy in 2013. This is my sole occupation now, Ike's Outdoors. So we really appreciate it if you subscribe. Like this video, click on an ad every now and then, because that is how I make my revenue off Ike's Outdoors, is from YouTube. No one pays me to use their product or pays me to do a review on a product. I actually have to beg them to let me do them. But I get my revenue off of YouTube. So if you guys would like, subscribe, share these videos, and every now and then click on an ad, I really would appreciate it. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll look forward to showing you a bunch of new products in 2013.